So this is my SkillShare experience that I'd like to share. Before I quit SkillShare, I joined SkillShare to learn some urban sketching and watercolor techniques, and in this regard I found quickly Julia Henze's SkillShare videos, and they were awesome. Let me just show how it works. If I open this project, yes, this is urban sketching for beginners. I completed, so the end result was a house with decent shading. So that was really a simple, but I think absolutely on the point, quick introduction to urban sketching, then fine lining, and then watercoloring. So I simply loved it, and I also made my project. In SkillShare you have the option to create projects, and this is the project I created. So I completed the project on May 27th, and instead of watercolor I used 8 pencils from my recently purchased Derwent Inktense set. I think I like this very simple urban sketch style. Here are the stages. The Derwent Inktense set has 36, contains a graphite pencil called Outliner. I loved it so much. I use this for the sketching. This is my Micron 0. For fine line I used a Micron 03. For shadows a 08. I picked a bit more muted shades of the orange and green, thinking they are better for old buildings. Caran d'Ache is my favorite water brush. So these were the color tangerine and Ionian green for this project. Then for the roof, I wanted a muted color too, deep indigo. I loved it, but actually this was the darkest blue I had in this 36 sec, so I had to use a dark gray to paint corresponding shadows. And these are the Inktense colors are used: tangerine, as I mentioned, Ionian green, peacock blue for the windows, and deep indigo for the roof. I wasn't sure that I like this sprinkle trick, which is visible here, but anyway, it's okay for a loose style, but not necessarily okay for this semi-realistic approach. Anyhow, I eventually gave a try just to experiment how to do it with a water brush. I picked up paint from the tip of the pencils, squeeze the water tank to fill the brush completely, the bristles, and I knocked the Caran d'Ache to the pencil, and this action produced small drop sprinkles, like so. Yes, I used Indian ink for the shadows here, because deep purple was a very deep color, so I had no other option just to use this Indian ink. And this is the final stage. When looked at the final result, I really liked, surprisingly, the three-dimensionality these simple shadowing tricks gave to the pictures. So the whole of this main concept from Julia is to spend a hell lot of time on shadowing, which gives a three-dimensional look to your sketches. So that's definitely the key and far most important message from her classes. This was my second urban sketching course, the first one from Zanena Nabel. Two totally different approaches. Whether mixing or not mixing colors, it really doesn't matter from the pure technical perspective. It's a personal preference. Since sketching is totally different from photography, photorealism is not a goal at all, and practically you can use any colors from your set. That is, mixing colors in urban sketching is totally optional. If you love color mixing, just do it. Or use the pure colors directly available from your set or pen. I have a Derwent Inktense 36, Faber-Castell Dürer 24 and the Derwent Graphitint 24, enough colors to pick for this project. Since I have completed Imelda Green's course on color mixing and color schemes, I was thinking what color scheme Julia used here. I think this color scheme was yellow, green, blue, orange, double split complementary harmony, where red was reduced to less than 50%. Julia comments very kindly and nicely every project that is created for her courses. So here is what she said. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful sketch and your thoughts. The shadows, colors and all the details look great. As for mixing colors, it's definitely a matter of preference. As a big mixing lover, I think it's not only about new colors you can create, but also about the way of applying them to your paper. When you mix colors, you often have the mix, but also both, more or less pure colors on your brush. So, when you apply it to the paper, you create this beautiful mixture of different colors that flow into each other and make everything look amazing. I mean, I love seeing this effect, but we all have different tastes and styles which are changing during our creative lives. By the way, and you should do what you like the most. So that was my first project with Julia Henze. So, and then the second one was a simpler one, and that was about her windows. Yes, windows in watercolor, developed drawing, shadowing. That was again an excellent. Course, and here is my project. I've just started this project on 2022, May 29th, and it was really interesting that Julia had not any greens on her palette. That is, when she needs green of any shade and blue, she will mix it. Later in the course, she extensively used mixed greens. In my project, this time again, I used watercolor pencils just to experiment with them. This time, however, I used exclusively Derwent Graphitint pencils with their muted colors. I love clean colors, mixed colors, muted colors, bright colors. I love gray, browns. To me, it doesn't matter. The reason I wanted to use exclusively these colors is to make the color scheme restricted to this muted look and feel designed in the Graphitint sets. I'm quite okay with drawing. I think still it was absolutely great to practice Julia's window drawing exercises. I think using watercolor pencils is significantly different than pen paint, and it is a lot more limited. But these limitations don't really matter, since urban sketching is not for speed, efficiency, profitability. No, here everything is about making fun, as Julia has pointed out this fundamental concept in her videos. I love both pen paint as well as watercolor pencils. When I travel on site, I bring my pencils and water brushes. Interesting that here on SkillShare we see nowhere dates, so I'll include dates directly in my comments and projects. And this is what Julia Henze responded to my project. What a great practice. I love that you document all your thoughts and that you learn in your own way, experimenting and trying out different things. I am sure that's the best way to learn drawing and to develop your style. As for your sketches, they look fantastic. The shadowing is really great, as well as textures and reflections. You could add some more darkness to the green window shadows. But maybe it's something for the next time. Just keep in mind that dark shadows make our sketches look more engaging. Anyway, very well done. Hope now you know how to draw your own window. Yeah, she is always right. Definitely, when I have drawn my green window here, I detected the colors. I picked too dark green, or maybe I should have applied a much lighter. So therefore, eventually, I didn't have too much room to add more deeper colors. So that's why my green window looks a bit flat. But of course, I did my best to add some shadow stripes here as well as here. I'm quite happy with the window and the bluish, how to say, interesting contents, mimicking reflections and the curtain behind the glass. Yeah, and also the flowers, I definitely on the pictures, on the photo, they were a lot brighter, real pink color flowers, but here this was the brightest color, pinkish color I had, and this picture is too small, so I really didn't have the option to make these flowers a lot, how to say, lighter. But anyhow, maybe next time, as Julia kindly and nicely explained. That was my first window, and just I'm only in a week in this urban sketching and drawing and painting. Okay, so these were the two, and also let me just mention I also have here a project for urban sketching course with Zanena. Actually, I did this project on Udemy, and when I joined Skillshare, I was surprised that Zanena is here too. As you can see from this project, she doesn't so, how to say, stubbornly ask us to do shadowing. So that's why this is how it looks. So it was from Julia Henze who insisted in her course to emphasize creating shadows. Zanena uses a very loose style. I had no problem with drawing, but coloring, that was totally new to me. This was a fantastic project. I made these pictures in my 12 by 12 centimeter 140 grams square meter Talents Art Creation sketchbook. The 140 GSM is not really fine for heavy watercolor, but I simply found this tiny sketchbook with its imperfections, limitations, totally fine for the entire urban sketching field. I use St. Petersburg Sonnet and Kohinoor Anilinki, both excellent paint, especially Sonnet. I use exclusively water brushes. My favorite is Carandash, so great water control. However hard I tried, I wasn't able to apply those elegant, gentle strokes that Zanena applied. For the door, I used Anilinki, which is the favorite paint of the fantastic Imelda Green, alias Orsi Sebők. Yeah, this is a loose attempt for the draw. As for as last drawing, I followed the photo and then I saw that the instructor Zanena is drawing a number of things totally differently as was seen on the photo. So my lesson was that sketching has nothing to do with photos and not even to reality. What matters is that we should love sketching. Yeah, here I definitely applied shadows here and there. Yes, definitely I wouldn't say. And some waters. So this project was made for Zanena Nabel course. I think that was fantastic. As I mentioned, I paid for it on Udemy, very inexpensive. But anyhow, I completed it there and I created the project here on SkillShare. What other project I have, and the last project I want to share you before I quit SkillShare is Imelda Green water coral crystals. Her name, this is her artist name, her real name is Orsi Sebők, and that was excellent course. So I'm done with the first stage. Here I used my, again, 12 centimeters 140 GSM Talents Art Creation sketchbook. Far from great for heavy water paintings, and this way the feeling is like urban sketching. As a fan of the instructor, I use Anilinki too for this project. Anilinki practically has only 9 colors, but these colors are fantastic. As any watercolor paint, these look slightly differently on different paper. In the picture below, the color chart was painted on a Fabriano 25% cold press paper. The colors really amazing. Here are my notes as I was following the course. That split primary color wheel concept is interesting. Instead of taking a pure primary color, we will mix in a small amount from either of the other 2 primary colors, but not both. So in paints, my observation that it's very rare when you have a pure color, a pure primary color. 99% actually I haven't met any pure color. It is either maybe yellow. Yes, maybe yellow was pure, either warm or cold. Anyhow, this is split primary color. That is, a primary color has some amount from either direction, some pigment. As for color temperature, blue is the coldest color, so if a color has at least 50% blue component, it is regarded cold, or at least coldish. In other words, if a color has less than 50% red plus yellow, it is a cold color. In the case of orange, how can it have a cold variant? In this regard, yellow is regarded colder than red, so in an orange with more yellow than red, it is regarded as a cold orange, which doesn't mean that that variety is a cold color. It just means that it is a colder variety of orange. Violet is another interesting color. It is regarded as a cold color despite it contains 50% red, the warmest component. When mixing and thinking about colors, I don't really care this warm, cold thing at all. What matters in practice is what primary components that color contains and in what ratio to each other. Only one, two, or all the three. When you have a cold green, you must remember that it has some yellow and a lot more blue, depending how cold is that green. If you want to make that cold green warmer, you shouldn't add red, the warmest color, no way. Be careful with red or any color that contains any amount of red, since it will not only make it warmer, but it makes it duller too. In the meantime, when I had the course with Julia Henze, she often remembered that when we are creating shadows, let's pick a colder variant of that color, say green or or I think that was gray and yellow. In the case of yellow, of course, and in practice it always means add some blue component, because that's the math behind it. So when someone says that we need a colder color, it means add some blue component. In any way, green always contains blue components, so therefore when you add green to yellow, it makes it automatically and immediately, inherently, a colder yellow. To make a green colder, just add more blue to it. Make a red colder, add blue, which brings it to violet, pink. And then to make maybe a, what is the name of it? Not pink, magenta, colder, then again just add blue. The big question, how can you make a blue bluer? Definitely, just first of all, just reduce the cold part or the red part completely. So that is when you have the clean cold, clean blue without any other component, which is very rare, but anyhow, and then make it darker. and that is just to use the pigment and remove any of the the water. That's the only way to make it darker. However, interestingly, black contains all of the components. So the typical is, how can you make a darker tone than a dark cold blue? Is just add black. But just keep in mind, black is actually not a cold color at all. Black contains, typical black contains as at least 33% of red and 33% of yellow. That is the major part of black color are warm colors. But anyway, so these are the mathematics behind these things. Brightness is the real thing. In nature, very rare that we have colors composed of only two components. What is black? Black contains all three components with equal proportions. No primary colors have dominance. What is gray? It is a black with a bit or a lot of water, depending on the shade of gray. Then what is brown? Brown is almost like black, but one or two primary color components are dominant to the other two or the other one. A brown always have three components and a perfect dulling duller color. In Anilinki, the brown is like sepia brown and a very strong duller. On a St. Petersburg sonnet palette, for example, we have a number of brownish colors. English red, burnt sienna, burnt umber, and sepia, about the same as Anilinki brown. The episode, the Jolly Joker color, about using a brown to naturalize secondary or primary colors was fantastic. The goal of these harmonies to create color scheme to avoid gray, if any, when any two colors were combined. So the goal of these harmonies is to create color schemes to avoid gray if any of these two colors were combined. Basically, Orsi selected always three colors for the scheme and blended only two components, two of them. In a triadic scheme, for example, reddish yellow, reddish blue, or reddish yellow plus red, blue, yellow. That is 6 colors, so a crystal can have only these colors. That split complementary, this is not complementary, complementary. Wow, what a mistake. So let me just correct this error. Is to create scheme to avoid gray when these are complementary. So that split complementary was tricky. Actually, with the selection of yellow, violet and blue, we selected the color scheme where the maximum proportion ratio of red is 50%, never more. That's why in this system you will not have gray nor brownish color. A brownish should have at least 50% red. If you choose yellow, green and blue, you will exclude red from the scheme, and this is just simple analogous scheme, so it has nothing to do with split complementary. In the other combinations, for example yellow, red and violet or green, where blue is max to 50%, or red, blue, orange, green, where a yellow is max 50%. In the red, green, violet, orange scheme, again, yellow is max to 50% to avoid gray. In double split complementary, the goal is to eliminate gray too, and 50% max outing a primary color with extending range, extending the range of the scheme with 4 colors, and only 2 colors are allowed to get mixed, but only 2 colors, but again only 2 colors are allowed to get mixed. For example, in the red, green, violet, orange, when you mix orange plus green, you are not allowed to mix violet, so no 3 components. That is actually, this double split scheme is a union of the red, green, violet and the red, green, orange single split complementary schemes. So that's the way you union, so you just simply extend the color range. When you why you need these color harmonies? The reason is that when you create a color scheme, for example a publication for a logo or even for a painting, then you can consciously picks a color scheme, just not randomly select any color from the universe, but think about the color scheme and then just eliminate. If you eliminate 50% of any of the primary colors, you are immediately in the territory of a color scheme. Practically in a double complementary color scheme, just pick any of the primary colors, say yellow, and then say that I eliminate the yellow component percentage to 50%, that is maxing it out. Then you have immediately a double split color scheme, so any color are allowed where the yellow is not bigger percentage than 50%. So, and this is applied to all of the three. So very interesting, because when you don't restrict your color choices, you are not thinking of color harmonies, you have just anything. Of course the analogous color scheme is interesting too, and that has the shortest range. The split complementary color scheme has a wider range, and double split color complementary scheme has the widest range. In the analogous harmony color scheme, one of the primary color is completely eliminated. Yes, that's why it is the shortest, most limited range. In double split complementary, one primary color component is maxed to 50%, as I explained. In triadic color scheme, red, blue, yellow, for example, again the goal is to avoid gray when combining the colors. In this scheme, select one of the color as leader. The term primary is used misleading here. That's why I prefer to use here leader, because primary means yellow, green and blue. So that's the leader color, and you can pick the other colors from the range defined by the other two. You can even mix them. The three colors have to be evenly spaced in the color wheel. They cannot be random colors. So that is, if you select red, then their colors in this triadic color scheme must be blue and yellow, or any color between blue and yellow, but not anything from. So that's why red combined with any color is red, and of course because the complementary color of red is green. Green is automatically and immediately included in this color scheme. But so this is a special color scheme. It's a more or less a combination of the analogous harmony as for the range plus the the complementary primary color. How a blue can be warm? Yeah, again, a big question. Just like how a yellow can be cold. What is a cold yellow? How blue can be warm? That's actually much simpler. On the traditional color wheel, ultramarine blue is closer to violet. Violet, while phthalocyanin and cerulean blues are closer to green. Violet is closer to red, and green red, and green is its complement on the color wheel. So you could decide that ultramarine is warmer. See, there is an excellent article about that, the temperature blue, which blue are warm or cool. thesprucecrafts.com. That is why Orshi, the instructor, refers to the bottom leftmost blue on the Anilinki palette as warmer than the other one next to it on the right, which she calls peacock blue. Yes, yesterday we had a painting, an online painting together, a session with Orshi, and she referred to this ultramarine color as a reddish color, and she was completely right, because this ultramarine is a warm color, and the reason it is warm because it has some red pigment. When we compose the violet, we use the warm red plus warm blue, but it is tricky since a warm red has some yellow, so the resulting violet has red plus blue and some yellow, which is dulled this way, I mean the resulting color. The cleanest true secondary color violet is to use cool red, which has no yellow at all, and warm blue. Yes, you shouldn't use cold blue because it contains yellow part too, and then it makes the color a bit duller. So the temperature exercise experiment was again really interesting, starting with a cold peacock blue and mixing gradually a warm blue. Since the cold blue has some yellow and the warm blue has some red, then then the resulting mix has all the three primaries, and because of a bit and because of and becomes a bit dull. Assume for a moment that the warm blue has 4% red and the cold blue has 4% yellow. Then the final mix will have 96% blue pigment plus 2% red and 2% yellow. That is 4% orange. I mean that take 2% blue, combine these 2%, that is you left behind 96%, sorry, yeah, I was not, that is not 4%, but it was 6%, because when you take this 2% blue pigment, you remain 22%, 92% clean blue pigment, and therefore 6% of orange, and orange is the complementary color for blue and typically used to make the blue rose. So this is 6%. Oh no, that was correct. That was 4% orange, blue, and typical used to, okay, and then and the resulting color had 6% gray component. The split complementary exercise with warm blue plus yellow plus purple was very interesting, and in my case it provided the result I expected. When mixing yellow 100% yellow part with purple, half red and blue, the resulting color would have 50% yellow, 24% red and 24% blue. That is, these three yellow, red, blue components would become gray and only 25% remain a primary color, yellow, so actually a yellowish gray. In Orshi's experiment, she used a purple variety with a lot more red, more like magenta. So the gray portion of the resulting color in her case contained a lot less gray factor in her experiment. Just do the math. In this experiment, the yellow plus warm blue combination is also part of this split complementary color scheme with green as a resulting color with a minimal gray factor because of the red portion of warm blue. With this combination, practically we could get the double split complementary scheme. Mixing warm blue with purple simply made the purple even colder. That purple plus warm blue could be an even better example for the temperature experiment, since this mix has no gray factor, no yellow in this Mischung. I think the reason or she picked the combining warm blue and the cold blue is that she didn't want to go out of the hue, and so therefore two blue colors of these different temperatures, that's what she enforced. However, uh, when I'm suggesting just to use warm blue with purple for this experiment, is that I simply don't care the concept of a hue. Hue is really just again a concept. It depends exclusively of the percentage of the color. So therefore, when you want to make an exercise with making a color colder, just pick the purple and add warm blue to demonstrate how it becomes colder without adding any graying, dulling component. So don't use a cold blue for making, interestingly, don't use a cold blue for this exercise. So anyhow, so this was the, I'm sorry, so this was my review of my SkillShare experiments and projects, and possibly later today I will cancel my SkillShare because that was all I wanted to learn from the SkillShare.